Do unspoken needs and shame fuel infidelity? Let's dive into it.
How unspoken needs and shame fuel infidelity. Contrary to popular belief, not all affairs happen because people are miserable or mistreated. Some happen in relationships that are actually good, stable, affectionate, even fulfilling in many ways. And that's what makes those betrayals so confusing, so gut-wrenching. In these cases, the cheating partner isn't trying to escape their relationship. They're still trying to escape the version of themselves that adulthood, responsibility, and emotional safety have created. Of course, it's not fair. It is not justified, but it happens more often than most people realize because loving your life and loving your partner doesn't erase the inner battles we sometimes lose long before betrayals ever touches our doorstep. At the heart of many affairs lies a painful truth. Not all unmet needs are visible. Not all hurt is loud. Some people move through their relationships carrying silent griefs, needs they never voiced, dreams they quietly buried, longings they convinced themselves were selfish or immature. They suppress. They compromise. They convince themselves they are fine until they aren't. Unspoken needs don't just disappear. They metastasize. They show up in resentment, withdrawal, irritability, and over time, shame creeps in. Shame for wanting more. Shame for feeling lonely when you're supposed to feel grateful. Shame for needing touch, attention, excitement, or validation in ways your partner might not even realize are missing. And when that shame festers, it creates a dangerous emotional vacuum. The person starts believing their needs are too much, too complicated, too inconvenient to even discuss. And when someone new comes along, someone who triggers forgotten parts of themselves, someone who sees them differently, it doesn't always feel like betrayal at first. It feels like breathing after holding their breath for a very long time. That is why so many affairs aren't calculated. They're impulsive, they happen in moments of vulnerability when the weight of unmet needs collides with the fear of speaking them out loud. And in that collision, people make decisions that cost them everything they thought they were protecting. Infidelity is not just about selfishness. It's often about emotional starvation and the desperate, broken ways that people try to feed what they were too afraid to name. In the aftermath of betrayal, one of the most confusing realities for both partners is how someone can show profound regret, yet struggle to articulate why they crossed the line in the first place. They say things like, I don't know why I did it. They weep, they beg, they grieve what they've broken, and yet their reasons sound hollow, fragmented, incomplete. And that's because for many people who cheat while still loving their partner, the act wasn't fully thought out. It wasn't a calculated decision to destroy trust. It was an impulsive surrender to unmet needs, insecurities, or buried pain they hadn't fully acknowledged, even to themselves. And when the affair ends or is exposed, the consequences come crashing down harder than they ever imagined. In the cold light of regret, the fantasy collapses. They see clearly, sometimes for the first time, how much they risked, how much they hurt the person they still love, how far they drifted from their own values. And because the betrayal wasn't born from hatred or indifference, but from personal weakness, the guilt becomes even heavier to carry. This is why I don't know why I did it isn't always a lie. It's often the painful truth of someone who didn't realize how lost they had become until it was too late. They didn't cheat because they stopped loving. They cheated because they stopped recognizing themselves. And in trying to feel alive again, they left devastation in their wake. Regret doesn't erase the betrayal, But understanding that regret can be real, even when the damage is irreparable, adds another layer to the complex human cost of infidelity. So can a relationship ever fully heal after this kind of betrayal? Healing after infidelity is one of the hardest journeys a couple can face, not because it's impossible, but because it demands a level of honesty, vulnerability, and emotional endurance that most relationships never have to confront. When betrayal comes from someone who still loved you, the wound cuts differently. It is not just the loss of trust that hurts, it's the loss of the simple, unquestioning belief that love alone was enough. Some couples do rebuild, but it's never about going back to normal. It's about cheating. It's about creating something entirely new. A relationship that acknowledges the crack instead of pretending they never happened. It means partners must be willing to face ugly truth, to own their pain without weaponizing it, to name the unmet needs and unspoken fears that made them vulnerable in the first place. Forgiveness, if it comes, is not forgetting. It is not excusing. It's a conscious, painful choice to move forward without using the past as a weapon every time new challenges arise. And for the partner who cheated, remorse isn't enough. Change must be visible. Trust must be rebuilt, one act at a time, often in small, unglamorous ways that require patience and humility. Not every relationship survives infidelity, and that's not a failure. Sometimes the betrayal exposes fractures that were too deep to mend. But when healing is possible, it doesn't just save the relationship, it transforms it into something stronger, more honest, and more resilient than it ever was before. Healing isn't about erasing the pain. It's about deciding that love, accountability, and growth are worth more than the shame of the mistake. Reflective questions and final thoughts. Cheating inside a loving relationship forces us to confront some of the most uncomfortable truths about human nature. It reminds us that love is not always enough to silence insecurity, loneliness, shame, or unspoken needs. It shows us that betrayal doesn't only happen in broken homes or dying marriages. Sometimes it happens right in the middle of love. Raw, complicated, imperfect love. Healing from this kind of betrayal demands a brutal kind of honesty, not just between partners, but within themselves. It demands that they ask the questions most people are too afraid to voice, so as to keep close. And here are a few facts or a few things to reflect on. Is love enough to sustain a relationship if deep emotional needs go unspoken? Can you truly forgive someone who hurts you while still loving them? Is rebuilding trust even possible when the betrayal was not born out of hatred, but out of weakness? And what kind of vulnerability, what kind of daily courage does it take to heal after infidelity? You can share your experiences in the comments below. Your voice, your honesty could help someone else take their first step towards clarity, healing, or even hope. And if this conversation stirred something deep in you, you could like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and follow us across all platforms. We talk about the parts most people are too afraid to touch. Thanks for watching, and until next time, protect your heart, honor your truth, and never stop choosing growth. I am Faith.
Wow, that was intense. For more real episodes like this, follow us on Relationship, Questions, and Dilemma by dimatstv. For more, see you next time.